The courtroom was quiet. Too quiet. Cameras rolled, capturing every polished marble floor and the solemn seal of Providence Municipal Court. Then she arrived. Vanessa Kingsley. Heels clicking like a warning, designer blazer flowing, phone glued to her hand. Confidence? Check. Arrogance? Overflowing. She didn't come to apologize. She didn't come to listen. She came to prove a point. Rules were for everyone else. But what Vanessa didn't know, Judge Frank Caprio had already read everything. Every report. Every detail. He knew her smirk was fragile, ready to shatter. The clerk cleared his throat. Defendant is charged with driving 27 miles over the limit in a residential zone. His voice wavered slightly as he added the note. Refused to cooperate with the officer, claimed to know people in high places. Murmurs ran through the courtroom. Gasps. Whispers. But Judge Caprio? Calm. Unshaken. He had seen pride before. But this was different. Vanessa's calm superiority dared him to challenge her. Good morning, Miss Kingsley, he said evenly. Vanessa barely looked up. Let's make this quick. I'm late for a board meeting. Her voice dripped with entitlement. And just like that, the stage was set. Judge Caprio's eyes never left her. Step forward, Miss Kingsley. She didn't move. Can we hurry? Investors are waiting. Uneasy laughter rippled through the room. Everyone could feel the tension. Arrogance versus authority. A battle brewing in silence. Caprio leaned forward, voice calm but razor sharp. Everyone waits their turn in this courtroom, including you. Vanessa's smirk faltered, just a fraction. But the real story? The evidence she thought was gone. The part of the officer's report she hoped nobody would see. Judge Caprio had read it. And it was about to explode her carefully curated image. This wasn't just about a speeding ticket. It was about privilege confronting reality, about a woman who thought the world belonged to her learning that true authority wears a robe, not designer shoes. And for anyone watching this unfold, hold tight. Because what happens next is the moment arrogance meets accountability, and no one in that room will forget it. Vanessa Kingsley let out a dramatic sigh, tossing her phone into her designer bag. Every movement screamed annoyance. She walked to the stand as if forced, not summoned. Fine, she said sharply, words dripping with impatience. I was speeding. Let's just pay it and move on. I don't see why this is a big deal. The courtroom went still. Those who worked 2 jobs to cover their fines exchanged looks of disbelief. Mothers in the back whispered. A young man who had apologized for going just 10 over the limit lowered his head, almost embarrassed for her. Judge Caprio's gaze never wavered. How was anyone injured, officer? He asked calmly. No, Your Honor. Just reckless driving through a school zone, replied the officer. School zone. The words echoed. Every adult in the gallery stiffened. Vanessa, unbothered, rolled her eyes. It's early. No kids were even outside. Caprio's voice tightened slightly. The law doesn't wait for tragedy before it matters. Vanessa's expression flickered, irritation masking something deeper, discomfort. Caprio's calm patience pressed against her arrogance like quiet thunder. Every question he asked peeled back another layer of entitlement. Every flippant answer she gave tightened the invisible rope she was wrapping around herself. The audience wasn't watching a speeding case anymore. They were witnessing a test of character. Humility versus hubris. And unbeknownst to Vanessa, the next few minutes would uncover records she had hoped were long buried. Caprio closed the file and looked at her directly. Miss Kingsley, before I make a decision, I want to understand something. His tone was calm, almost kind, but there was a weight in it, a patience honed by decades. Why is it that people with the most tend to show the least respect for those who serve the law? Silence hung heavy. The courtroom collectively held its breath. Vanessa, however, laughed lightly, a dismissive, brushing it off laugh. "Respect?" she said, shaking her head. "Your Honor, I respect people who earn it. I don't need a lecture for driving a little fast." A ripple of disbelief ran through the audience. You could feel the tension in the air, the faint shuffle of papers, the hum of ceiling lights, the unspoken shock of everyone present. Caprio folded his hands, calm as ever. "Miss Kingsley, this isn't about how fast you drive. It's about how you treat others, including this court." Vanessa, ignoring him, unlocked her phone, scrolling with casual indifference. "I'm sorry. I have actual business to handle. Let's just wrap this up." The bailiff stepped forward, but Caprio raised a single hand. "Put the phone down." His voice didn't rise, but it carried the authority of decades. Vanessa hesitated, then placed her phone face down with a huff. "Fine. Happy now?" she snapped. "Not particularly," Caprio replied calmly. "You were driving 57 in a 30 zone. Do you understand how dangerous that is?" "I understand. I'm a skilled driver. Maybe your law should make sense for people who know how to drive," Vanessa said, confident, defiant. A murmur ran through the courtroom, louder this time, filled with disbelief. Even the bailiff's jaw tightened. Caprio's eyes stayed fixed on her. "The speed limit isn't based on your opinion, Miss Kingsley. It's based on the safety of others, including children in that neighborhood." The weight of his words settled in. Vanessa's smirk faltered just slightly. The first crack in her armor had appeared. "Oh, please," Vanessa interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "Parents should teach their kids not to run near the road. Why is that suddenly my problem?" The courtroom shifted. Shock rippled into quiet anger. A woman in the back, possibly a teacher, muttered, "Unbelievable." Caprio's face hardened, calm but immovable. "Miss Kingsley," he said slowly, "that's not how a community works. The rules protect everyone, including you." Vanessa smirked, rolling her eyes. "Look, I didn't hit anyone. Nobody got hurt. Can I pay my fine and leave?" Caprio opened her file, flipping carefully through the pages. "You've had 3 prior speeding citations in the last 18 months. Vanessa arched an eyebrow. "So? I paid them. Isn't that the point?" Caprio asked, voice calm but firm. "Paying fines doesn't erase responsibility. It doesn't teach the meaning of law or humility." The word humility landed like a weight in the room. Vanessa's face flickered, but she masked it quickly with sarcasm. "Humility? Are we moralizing over a traffic ticket now?" Caprio leaned forward slightly. "No, Miss Kingsley. We're confronting the attitude behind it. Because arrogance on the road is just arrogance in motion." For the first time, the courtroom stopped whispering and laughing. They just watched. Even Vanessa's expression shifted, something unguarded, but she straightened, crossing her arms. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "Who's trying to make an example out of me?" Caprio's eyes didn't waver. "Maybe. Or maybe life's been trying to do that for you, and you keep ignoring it." Vanessa opened her mouth, ready to snap back, but no words came. A flicker of confusion crossed her face, replaced quickly by defiance. "I don't have time for this. Can we finish?" Judge Caprio paused, then nodded to the bailiff. "Not yet." He turned back to Vanessa. "Before I make a ruling, there's something I want to confirm, something that might explain why this ticket matters more than you think." Vanessa frowned. "What do you mean?" Caprio lifted a document from her file. Her confidence faltered. "This isn't the first time your driving put someone in danger," he said quietly. "You were issued a warning last year for nearly hitting a crossing guard outside St. Mary's Elementary. Do you remember that?" Gasps filled the courtroom. Vanessa blinked, lips parted, words caught in the spotlight of truth. St. Mary's Elementary. The name echoed in the room. That was nothing," she said quickly. "No one was hurt. It was exaggerated." Caprio leaned back, calm but disappointed. You nearly struck a crossing guard, Miss Kingsley. A person trying to protect children. You didn't think that was worth mentioning. Vanessa scoffed. Because it wasn't my fault. The woman jumped out too soon. Everyone blew it out of proportion. And I paid the fine. Caprio's voice softened, carrying weight beyond anger. Always the same with you. Paying doesn't erase the danger you cause. You can't buy away accountability. Vanessa straightened her shoulders. With respect, Your Honor, I built 3 companies from scratch. I've worked my entire life to be where I am. I'm not some reckless teenager. I'm a responsible adult who happened to be in a hurry. Caprio's gaze hardened. And your success gives you the right to put others at risk? Vanessa laughed, loud, defensive, brittle. Oh, come on. You think a few extra miles per hour turns me into a villain? This whole system is designed to milk money from people like me, the ones who actually contribute to society. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. The tension was palpable. Everyone sensed the moment her arrogance had fully collided with justice. The mother in the back row clenched her purse. The bailiff glanced toward the judge, waiting for a signal, but Caprio didn't raise his voice. He set his pen down deliberately, folded his hands, and spoke slowly, each word measured. Miss Kingsley, he began, this system you're mocking is what keeps children alive to go to school every morning. Vanessa's smirk wavered. Her voice tried to mask the flicker of discomfort. You can moralize all you want. I'm not afraid of fines. I'll pay whatever you want. Caprio leaned forward, calm but sharp, a weapon sharper than anger. I'm not interested in your money. The words hit like a thunderclap. The courtroom fell completely silent. He continued, voice low but cutting. What concerns me is the belief that wealth exempts you from empathy. That somehow, your success grants you permission to disrespect those who serve the law and endanger those who depend on it. Vanessa's smirk finally faltered. You're twisting this. You don't know me. Caprio didn't flinch. I don't need to. Your behavior in this courtroom tells me everything I need to know. She picked up her phone again, clutching it like armor. Are we done here? I've wasted enough time. Put the phone down, the judge said firmly. His tone left no room for negotiation. If you walk out of this courtroom, you will be held in contempt. The room froze. Even the cameras seemed to pause. Vanessa's face flushed. Contempt for what? She demanded. For showing complete disregard for this court, its rules, and the safety of others. Caprio replied, steady and unwavering. You don't get to buy respect here. You earn it, or you lose it. Vanessa hesitated at the door, eyes darting between the bailiff and the audience. For the first time, doubt flickered across her face. The bailiff took a single step forward. Yes, Your Honor, he said quietly. Vanessa's confidence finally cracked. She lowered herself back into the chair, trembling with frustration she could no longer hide. Caprio nodded, reclaiming the rhythm of the courtroom. Now that we have your attention, he said, let's talk about consequences. The gavel hadn't fallen yet, but everyone could feel it coming. The courtroom seemed to stop breathing. Vanessa's silence was no longer pride. It was panic disguised as poise. The woman who had strutted in like a queen was now cornered, her confidence slipping through her fingers. Judge Caprio looked at her steadily, the calm center of a storm she hadn't seen coming. Miss Kingsley, he said, voice low and deliberate. You came in here expecting to pay your way out. But the law doesn't sell indulgences. You pay for your choices, not to buy forgiveness. Vanessa laughed, brittle and hollow. A lecture? Is that what I'm paying for? No. Caprio replied, unblinking. The lecture is free. The lesson, you choose to learn it, or you don't. Unfortunately, not everyone values what they don't have to buy. A ripple of quiet laughter spread through the gallery. Not mockery, but release. The tide had turned. The woman who had dismissed everyone was now facing something she could not outspend. Caprio opened her file again. You've had 4 moving violations in 2 years. Each time you paid without reflection. Each time you believed that was the end of it. But every payment was just another wall between you and accountability. I said I'll pay this one too. Vanessa snapped, folding her arms. Let's just get it over with. No, Caprio said firmly. That's the problem. You treat responsibility like a transaction. You can't swipe a card and erase your behavior. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Your fine for this violation was $400. I'm raising it to $750, plus court costs. But that's not all. Vanessa's head jerked up. You can't just. I can, and I am, he interrupted. I'm also assigning you to a mandatory driver responsibility course within 30 days. The courtroom shifted. The powerful lesson had begun. This was no longer about money. It was about control, conscience, and consequences. The courtroom was still. No one dared speak. Vanessa's breathing was quick, shallow, trapped between frustration and humiliation. Failure to complete the driver responsibility course will result in suspension of your license, Caprio said, tone firm. She blinked rapidly. You're overstepping, she whispered. No, Miss Kingsley. Caprio replied, colder now. I'm holding you accountable. The words sank in. For the first time, Vanessa's eyes reflected more than defiance. They flickered with confusion, vulnerability, the faintest trace of understanding. You call this justice? She asked, trembling. Caprio nodded slowly. Exactly. Justice isn't meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to make you confront yourself. Vanessa's lips parted, but no defense came. She was silent. She was absorbing. The audience could feel it, the arrogance slipping, the first crack in the armor. You think power comes from money, Caprio continued, softer now, almost compassionate. But real power comes from restraint, from knowing when to stop before you hurt someone. That's the power you lack, and the one this court intends to teach you. Her expensive shoes seemed suddenly too heavy, the marble floor too real. The grandeur of wealth no longer insulated her. For the first time, Vanessa wasn't standing above anyone. She was standing alone. Caprio let the silence stretch. The quiet did what money never could. It made her listen. Then he spoke again, steady and deliberate. Miss Kingsley, you've spent this entire hearing proving you know how to build an empire. But you haven't shown that you know how to be part of a community. Vanessa's eyes widened, swallowing the word as if it were foreign. Yes, Caprio said softly. The people who obey the same laws you break. The people whose taxes maintain the roads you speed through. The parents whose children you endangered because you thought your schedule mattered more than their safety. Every word landed heavy, calm, not to humiliate, but to awaken. I didn't mean to disrespect anyone, Vanessa whispered. You didn't have to mean it, Caprio replied. Disrespect doesn't need intention. It needs indifference. And that's what you've shown, indifference to rules, to safety, to people. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to move on with my day. Caprio leaned forward, eyes locked on hers. And so does everyone else who comes in here. But they face consequences without arrogance. They stand where you stand and own their mistakes. They don't hide behind status. The sharpness drained from her tone. I suppose I just assumed this was like every other ticket. It isn't, Caprio said firmly. This one came with a mirror. And when people like you look into it, they often see the one thing they can't buy: humility. A ripple of emotions swept through the gallery. The same people Vanessa had looked down on now regarded her with quiet empathy, having all faced their own moments of reckoning. Caprio leaned forward, voice steady, human. Miss Kingsley, I don't dislike you. I dislike what entitlement does to people. It builds walls so high that you stop seeing others. But every wall eventually cracks. Sometimes, a courtroom is where that happens. Vanessa lowered her eyes. She wasn't defiant anymore. She wasn't arrogant. She was learning, slowly, painfully, undeniably. For the first time, she understood, respect cannot be bought. It must be earned. The courtroom held its breath. The moment had arrived. The lesson wasn't about fines, citations, or money. It was about seeing the world beyond yourself. And Vanessa Kingsley was finally beginning to see. Vanessa's eyes glistened. Words trembled on her lips. I understand, she whispered. Caprio nodded gently. Good. Understanding is the first step toward change. He closed her file with a quiet thud, not judgment, but closure. Your fine stands. Your driver responsibility course stands. But what happens after today depends on whether this moment means something to you. She nodded, voice barely above a whisper. It does. Caprio studied her for a moment, then offered a small, patient smile. Maybe this wasn't punishment at all. The tension that had gripped the courtroom for nearly an hour began to ease. Vanessa took a slow, deep breath, the kind that comes from surrender, not impatience. She wasn't walking out a winner. She was walking out a human being reminded of what that truly meant. The people in the gallery watched quietly. No cheers, no mocking. Just reflection. They had witnessed something money couldn't buy. Transformation. Judge Caprio remained seated, calm and steady, watching her sign the paperwork. Miss Kingsley, he said softly, you may pay your fine now. She nodded. Yes, Your Honor. And before you go, he added, voice measured. Remember what I told you. This courtroom doesn't measure success in dollars. It measures it in character. Her eyes lifted. I understand. Caprio's small, patient smile returned, one that had humbled thousands before her. Maybe today wasn't punishment. Maybe it was a restart. As she turned toward the exit, the camera lingered on her face. No arrogance, no superiority, only the faint look of a woman realizing humility isn't weakness, it's wisdom rediscovered. The courtroom doors closed behind her, but the lesson remained. If this story moved you, hit subscribe, where real authority meets real humility, and every courtroom moment reminds us that character will always be worth more than cash.